Do you believe in UFOs?
Yes, obviously.
Obviously.
Well, no, because it just means unidentified flying object.
Okay, okay.
Are you asking me, do I believe in little green men?
Little green men who fly around in little Tic Tac capsules.
I don't care. I don't care whether they do exist or whether they don't exist. It is the last thing on my list of interests.
Well,
I love the
honestly,
idea. You'd meet an alien and he'd be like, "I've come from another world," and you'd be like, "Yeah, right." I've got a lot going on, mate. I'm busy.
I do believe that. I don't know whether they still have it, but the UN for many years had a ambassador for outer space whose job it was. Yeah, no, they did. Whose job it was to meet and greet.
Easy day.
Yeah, to meet and greet any alien life form that happened to sort of land
of the aliens
on our
arrived
world.
yet?
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, it's true. It's
9
true.
to 5.
Job well done.
I interrupt this segment to bring you an important message about this stuff, the dollar. Not going so well, is it? Inflation is out of control and debt is even more out of control. In fact, the US government is on the verge of spending $1 trillion a year just servicing its debt. It spends about $6.6 trillion and it only collects about $4.6 trillion in revenues. So you can see that this situation is, rapidly taking a turn for the worse. You might want to consider some gold and silver, and that is why that we've done a partnership deal with Goldco, and we've created LotusEatersGold.com. Go and check that out. It's an offer for our American viewers. You can transfer a proportion of your IRA into this, and if you do so, you're going to get some of this lovely stuff, some bonus silver thrown in on top, up to $10,000. Or you can even take delivery of the physical gold to your home address if you prefer. So if you want money that goes clang when you put it down, check out LotusEatersGold.com.
do you know about the Voyager, actually?
No.
So on Voyager, there's a gold plate, and on the gold plate, there's loads of information just in case it meets aliens. So, I mean, this is actually a serious concern.
Yeah, but that was really stupid, wasn't it? It's like, here's our weak spots.
What?
Look, we're soft, fleshy things that can easily be killed. Here you go, aliens, have all this information. This is where we live, by the way.
Well, you know what's really funny? That you have a man and a woman on
I play way too much Warhammer, okay? Like, the last thing I want to do is give aliens information about humanity.
What we need to do is make sure that Will Smith is healthy, because he really is.
He's getting older, man. He
is. But we need to replace. We just find the next Will Smith, because he knows how to handle aliens. He does.
You know, that is a South Park episode. They open up a portal to another world, so they get all the actors who have acted in such films and just send them through.
That's a great idea.
Anyway,
why not?
So I don't believe in aliens. I believe in Bigfoot. And frankly, the fact that there's no congressional hearing about Bigfoot, look, we've been through this enough, Callum. Right?
Yeah, we have enough.
Part 3 coming soon, by the way. Go and watch these. These are amazing, actually.
I can see your face.
I did so much work on these Bigfoot things. And what does Congress do? Oh, it's like, oh, yeah, aliens, though. Oh, shut up. Shut up. I don't believe it. But look at all these Bigfoot. I found some amazing footage the other day, actually.
Really? You found footage of Bigfoot, have you?
Yes. It was incredible.
Okay.
Anyway, right.
If you don't know, he literally sits me down and tries to prove that Bigfoot is real for like an hour.
Well, Bigfoot is not real. Absolutely not. No, Bigfoot isn't real. He's not.
Why?
He's just a bloke in a gorilla suit wandering around Nepal. In Tibet. That's all it is.
What is the scale of the gorilla suit industry? Like, there are so many videos.
That's because the gorilla suits are easy to get hold of, mate. Honestly, you get gorilla suit, you fly off to Nepal and Tibet, wander around, you're a tall bloke, and all the rest of it, working out a little bit.
Yeah,
there you go, Bigfoot. So just a bloke in a gorilla suit.
Bodybuilders are wandering around Nepal in gorilla suits. And, but what's the size of the gorilla suit wearing community? Because there are just so many videos.
It doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter. You just need the odd one to pop up every now and again, and there we've got it.
Right,
the myth continues.
He has got a good point, though. A lot of them have tits in the photos. It's like, why would you get the one with tits?
Oh, so we're talking about trans Yeti now, are we?
No, women Yeti.
Women Yeti.
Women Yetis.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Anyway, right. Let's get back.
Let's get back to the real news.
Let's get to the real news, which is a congressional hearing on aliens. Okay. So. Actually, it's quite reasonable. Let's watch this first.
They've got nothing to gain from this, and I think you're going to find out that they've endured quite a few slings and arrows. We need to remember them in our prayers and their families. And I'm thankful to them for their honest testimonies. They have done interviews and appeared in documentaries like Accidental Truth to get their stories out there. And now they are all here to testify under oath for Congress. We've run into roadblocks from members from the intelligence community, the Pentagon, I proposed legislation to go in the FAA reauthorization that just said if an airline pilot has a sighting, that when he makes that report to the FAA, that it would come to Congress. But I was told that the intelligence community did not like that, and the amendment was not even heard in committee. And that's exactly the point. This is an issue of government transparency. We can't trust a government that does not trust its people. We're not bringing little green men or flying saucers into the hearing. Sorry to disappoint about half y'all. We're just going to get to the facts. We're going to uncover the cover-up, and I hope this is just the beginning of many more hearings and more people coming forward about this.
Right. So this is not entirely unreasonable. If you've got lots of people saying, look, we keep seeing these things, and you have the intelligence agencies saying, no, you don't, and you're not allowed to talk about it, there is a genuine concern about government transparency, right? And the rule of law and democracy and all these sort of things do come into question. And if there's nothing to hide here, then just let these people make themselves look ridiculous.
Are these sort of UFOs seen mainly above Nevada and New Mexico?
Are we talking about the Tic Tac?
In one particular instance, yeah.
Do you know about the Tic Tac?
Yeah.
Okay. Just so everyone's on the same page.
So that's why they're there. And the people giving the testimony seem really credible, actually. These are insanely boring people. Like, if it was Alex Jones, I'd be like, okay, fair enough. Not that I did have anything against Alex Jones, but...
I did wonder if someone, when he said, we're not talking about little green men, sorry to disappoint half of you, if someone did get up and go, oh, damn it.
Well, I would have got up and left at that point, but yeah. But anyway, like, these are the guys giving the testimony, and I'm just going to let them lay out their credentials so you know exactly how boring these people are.
Our first witness is Lieutenant Ryan Graves. He's the Executive Director of Americans for Safe Aerospace. Lieutenant Graves is also a former U.S. Navy F-18 pilot with his own UAP experience. The next witness, David Grush, is a former senior intelligence officer with the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency and was a senior technical advisor for UAP issues. And finally, retired Navy Commander David Fravor, squadron leader who worked as a naval aviator for 18 years. Mr. Fravor has his own UAP experience, known as the TikTok event.
Right. So really boring but well-credentialed people. They've all got degrees or master's degrees in physics or some of the nonsense that's boring.
What? They were pilots.
I just don't think
about academics.
No, they do. They tell you in. I mean, I'm not clipping the whole damn thing. It's 2.5
I know.
hours,
I just think that's a better qualification than I've got a degree.
Well, no, it's compiles, right? They are former military officers, intelligence officers. They all have academic qualifications. They've got like 20 or 30 years doing what they're doing. As you can see, they're very boring, serious men.
They no doubt they've seen something, and no doubt there are there are objects which are flying around which are unidentifiable to the vast majority of people, and they're probably just futuristic, militaristic, government-sponsored.
Yeah, but these are the people who know whether they are or aren't.
Yeah, but they don't know, do they?
Yeah, they do
don't
know.
know. I don't think they do know. I just don't think they do know.
The
left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing in government.
No, that's not true. Right? That's not true. These are the people who would have been involved in things like that. Right? They at one point, one of them just says, look, I was involved in like top secret conventional technological experiments. We can't do anything.
Yeah, but not all of them.
No, I'm not saying all of them.
No, but that's presumably how
that's what I'm saying. The other thing, of course, is
this is talking from a position of our ignorance and assuming that they share this position of ignorance. But they expressly say in this that they don't. They know what's going on generally. And I imagine like there are, whisper networks in there and stuff like that.
I'm pretty sure that Donald Trump, during his tenure, I'm sure that he would have had a look at these files, and that if there had been anything in there, I think he'd have shot his mouth right off. I do, and he didn't.
Do you think they would have shown Donald Trump?
Well, yeah, I think they probably would, yeah.
So we've just invented a hypersonic jet fighter.
Because he was the president.
It could destroy all of China. Quick, show Trump.
That's interesting, because then we get into the discussion about deep state. But anyway, so one of them explains one sort of typical encounter, which I'm not going to play because it's like a minute and a half long. But he basically, in 2004, he was flying along off the coast of California, encounters a tic-tac thing that is just zipping around and goes up in space, and then they fly off, and suddenly it's behind them, and it's typical sort of UFO encounter, right? And they can't explain it. The physics of it definitely doesn't bear out to what we.
If you type in Lemino Tic-Tac, he probably has the best video on it.
It's an amazing video on it, yeah. And so what are they asking for? I'm going to skip this video just because we're running out of time. But basically, they're just asking for really a safe and centralized way to report these encounters that won't endanger their careers because they're very concerned about it. But I mean, in this one, he does talk about the technology, which I think is worth watching.
Mr. Gresh, finally, do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
And where?
I know the exact locations, and those locations were provided to the Inspector General and some of which to the intelligence committees. I actually had the people with the firsthand knowledge provide a protected disclosure to the Inspector General.
I actually skip on that because we're running out of time. But they say there's technology beyond our capacity, and the US government is in possession of them. And they're in possession of the pilots, the organic pilot, who is not human, of whatever crashed craft they've got. He doesn't call it an alien.
Can we play this? I feel like this is important to play.
I couldn't find it. It's 2.5 hours.
Okay.
It's at some point he says that. You'll find the clip going around Twitter, but it's in there, right? And so it's like, right, okay, what are we supposed to say to that? Right? This chief intelligence officer, 3 colonels or lieutenants or whatever, and former pilots, just like, look, everyone knows. I know where they are. I'm not going to say it publicly, but I know they are. They've got.
Show me them. Show me.
Yeah, well,
I don't believe it. This for me.
Well,
This is. Do you remember in the 1970s? You probably don't.
I don't know. Yeah.
Eric von Daniken and the.
I've read Chariots of the Gods.
Chariots of the Gods.
Totally.
Chariots of the Gods, etc.
Yeah.
Where they make the point that in the book of Ezekiel. Actually, what the prophet is describing, the wheels within wheels, what they're actually describing is a spaceship. I just don't see. I don't know why everything seems to happen in America. I don't know why some other smaller country hasn't also got the bones of a little green man somewhere in its lockup. Why does this only happen in the States?
Why would you bother going to Tibet or something?
Well, you wouldn't know, would you? If you're from outer space, you're not going to really care. You're just going to land on a landmass.
I don't know. I mean,
why would you go to the States?
If you've got some sort of,
you want to go to Vegas? Is that the thing? Do you think?
Well, I think they might want to go to the place where there's the most political power centralized in the world.
Or alternatively, they might like to go where. Well, I don't know. I think you're thinking in purely human terms here, Carl. And I think this is a big mistake in trying to understand the alien mind, which, by the way, doesn't exist.
I don't know anything about the alien mind.
I just don't understand why they would choose to go reveal themselves to America.
Well, I don't think they're trying to reveal themselves. That's the thing. But there seems to be a lot of talk about nuclear weapons. There have been lots of encounters around nuclear sites. So I imagine the Russians have probably got loads of these as well. So I don't know. Maybe it's just because this is the English-speaking world. Who knows? But they're convinced it's technology beyond our capacity. And this was an interesting one. I think this one or the next one. I can't remember. It's this one.
Do you have any personal knowledge of people who have been harmed or injured in efforts to cover up or conceal these extraterrestrial technology?
Yes. Personally.
Have anyone been murdered that you would think that you know of or have heard of? I guess
I have to be careful asking that question. I directed people with that knowledge to the appropriate authorities.
So apparently, people have been killed over this. No idea, but I mean, I'm just going to take his word for it because, of course, I've got no evidence or anything like that.
There's no evidence, so I'll take his word.
Well, I'll take his word that that's his testimony. I mean,
Okay.
this is an oath under.
Yeah, I mean, plenty of people have lied under that.
Sure, but
Or
what?
just been wrong.
But what's the intent? Like, what would be the point of this?
There are
They're
loads of-
ruining their careers.
yeah, plenty of people have.
I guess.
I don't know. I'm not excited by the whole
I'm not
saying
excited
that
by
I'm
any of this.
excited.
release the Kraken.
I'm not saying I agree. I'm not saying I believe. I'm just like, okay, this is what they're saying, and I'm just going to take it as what they're saying. And okay, this is just take out what came out of this thing, right? And so they tell us what UFOs look like.
Are there common characteristics to the UAPs that have been cited by different pilots? And can you describe what the convergence of descriptions is?
Certainly. We were primarily seeing dark gray or black cubes inside of a clear sphere.
I'm sorry, dark gray or black cubes?
Yes,
Yeah.
inside of a clear sphere, where the apex or tips of the cube were touching the inside of that sphere. And that was primarily what was being reported when we were able to gain a visual tally of these objects. And that occurred over almost 8 years. And as far as I know, it's still occurring.
Yeah. Mentioned in Lemino's video.
Yep. Okay.
I'm not convinced. Show me the money.
Well, I agree, but
let's see a picture.
I'm not saying you have to be convinced. I'm just saying what was in this hearing, right? And so they suggest that this is being funded. This whole thing is being funded by misappropriation of budgets, basically.
Mr. Grush, as a result of your previous government work, have you met with people with direct knowledge or have direct knowledge yourself of non-human origin craft?
Yes, I personally interviewed those individuals.
Mr. Grush, as a result of your previous government work, have you met with people with direct knowledge or have direct knowledge yourself about ATs, advanced technologies that the U.S. government has?
Based on conventional advanced tech, I was briefed to the preponderance of the Defense Department's both space and aerospace compartmented programs,
Right, so that was not the one I was expecting, but that's fine. I have no idea where I am on the list now.
Has the U.S. government become aware of actual evidence of extraterrestrial, otherwise unexplained forms of intelligence? And if so, when do you think this first occurred?
I like to use the term non-human. I don't like to denote origin. Keeps the aperture open, both scientifically. Right. Certainly, like I've discussed publicly previously, 1930s.
Right. So the US has known about aliens since the 1930s, apparently. Right. And so, yeah, thanks. So we'll skip video 11 just because we're in time. And so video 12 is who is doing this then? Right. So who do they say is behind the scenes doing this? And this is his answer.
So who gets to decide this, in your opinion, in the past?
It's a group of career senior executive officials.
Okay. Are they government officials?
Both in and out.
Do what?
Both in and out of government. And that's about as far as I can go there.
There we go. It's a little cabal of people who are apparently inside the power structure dictating how this goes. And the final one is, why do they think the UFOs are here?
Based off of your own experience or the data that you've been privy to, is there any indication that these UAPs could be essentially collecting reconnaissance information? Mr. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Grush?
Fair assessment, yeah.
Mr. Fravor?
Very possible.
Probably here scouting us out, but of course we don't know. And I mean, I followed like UFOs for many, many years because I viewed it as like kind of like science fiction. Like, it's just interesting to hear, like, I'm going to listen to like this 6-hour, like, but the thing is, the UFO community is actually quite big and actually has like conferences all around the world. And you get like, I'm a colonel from the US Air Force. I've got a master's degree in this and a PhD in this, and I've been doing this for 50 years, and this is what happened. And it's really, really boring people who come out with these experiences, right? And so if it were really hyperactive, attention-seeking types, I'd be like, okay, obviously not. But I'm more inclined to give this credence, or at least hear them out, because of the kind of people that they are.
The trouble with that argument, Carl, is that there are national and international furries conferences, where you'll also find the great and the good turning up in their absolutely,
really?
Absolutely
Serious people,
serious people with great CVs, all the rest of it, who believe that they are part human, part furry. So I just
I don't think serious people do that.
Well, I think they do. I think it's the same serious people who believe in little green men.
Have you ever spoken to a furry?
I haven't spoken to a furry directly. I've spoken to furries through the magic of the internet.
Yeah, are they serious people?
Yeah, there are some serious people in the furry community, apparently.
Do you concur with that?
So we're going back to the subject. So there's actually, we don't even have to take people's word for it, because as mentioned, I mean, the Tic Tac incident, that is on film. You can go and watch it.
There's
That's
lots of footage of
something
this.
you can actually record to, which is fair to then point out and be like, look, I think Lemino does a very good job. I hate to keep bringing him up, but he just
it's a really good video he's done.
Yeah, like he goes through all the different circumstances they suspected it to be of camera failures, etc., and then couldn't put it down to any of that. And they were like, well, okay, so there probably was something there. We just don't know what. All right, what do we do with that? Because that's scary, especially if you're the United States.
It is scary. I agree. And let me get this. Let me just say this right off the off. I'm not saying there is no such thing as aliens. Not at all. There may well be. I don't see any reason why in the vast universe
Fermi paradox.
There wouldn't be. I just find it suspicious when the only people who spot them are these type of people.
Well, they're not. There are loads and loads of normal people with video cameras who film them and just put them on the internet, but it never goes anywhere because it's just some guy who videos a weird light in the sky.
Why does one of these not crash in Barnsley?
Well, there's the Rendlesham incident.
All right, so one has crashed in Barnsley, has it?
Well, I don't know how close to Barnsley Rendlesham Forest is, but this in the 70s there was a UFO thing near Rendlesham Air Base or something.
Again, near an airbase.
Yeah, but well, that makes it not valid now, does it? I don't know.
It's just they always seem to be around where
but there are
these sites where there is the great likelihood of there being some other course. It lands at an airbase conveniently.
Well, no, it wasn't at an airbase. It's just in a forest that is near an airbase. But like, there are loads and loads. You can just go, UFO crash, whatever, and you can find loads of different ones from all around the world. Like, there are loads of stories. It's just no one ever talks about them because why would you? You're not some sort of kook, are you? Right? And so it's not that, but it requires people like this to essentially be like, okay, I'm someone you would take seriously. If I said that the Chinese had submarines off the coast of California and they were planning a nuclear launch, you would listen to all of these men.
Of course we would, yes.
Of course you would. And so when these very same men come and look, we were flying these jet aircraft and we encountered some weird tic-tac thing that defied the laws of physics and we don't know what it is, we're not going to listen to them.
No,
I believe they did see something. I believe they did something. I don't know what it is. I don't think they know what it is. Absolutely.
Well, no
arguments about that.
They filmed it. That's the thing. Yeah. So if someone says, I saw something in the night. Okay, cool. I've got nothing really to even talk about.
Sure.
But we filmed it. We're talking about it on the film. You can run any test you want. And it's not a manufacturing error or an error with the thermals or anything. Like, this was a real thing that spun around us.
Yeah.
Then we've actually got something to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, that's what
I mean, when Grush there, senior intelligence officers like, I can tell you where the bodies are.
Yeah, that's a little less useful.
Well, I don't know.
Than a video of the Tic Tac.
I mean, it'd be useful to get someone to go there and actually get the bodies.
Yeah, it would.
Like, the US government has these things.
We have those?
Well, I'd love them. But the point is, I'm not saying that they're right or wrong. They might be just totally making up a story. But
why would successive governments hide it? Why?
Well, I can think of lots of reasons, actually.
For instance?
Well, for instance, the paradigm of humanity is definitely going to change if we are introduced to alien civilizations. Like, things are going to change a lot.
Why?
Because the aliens will have technology and ideas that are alien to us and will change our perspective on ourselves and the rest of the universe.
They're going to do that irrespective of whether or not our governments know it. If they've got some,
I don't know.
I don't think the aliens are being dictated to by whether or not Congress or whoever, the CIA or whatever, release this information.
I don't know. I don't know what it is, and I don't know what. I think one thing is you can't really predict the effect of it before the fact either. Like, we've no idea what the effects will be. And so who knows? I mean, we don't know what I can't imagine that they are just discovering us for the first time or something like that, right? And like, it could be that we're like some sort of quarantine planet or something. I don't know. It could be anything. That's the problem. The paradigm will shift so radically that a lot will change very, very quickly.
Okay, but you've got this alien life form. Okay. I imagine that it's going to do what it's going to do, irrespective of whether or not we want them to do it to us or not. So I don't see why repeated Congress or what have you would keep this stuff buried. I don't know what.
Well, the aliens might have some sort of prime directive where they're like, well, we're not. We don't want to interfere with.
Signed an NDA. Is that it?
Well, we don't need to do any of that. Just the technology argument's good enough.
No, for the same reason that we don't go to Amazonian tribes and drop iPhones down there, right? We don't want to screw them up.
That would be funny, though.
Sure,
yeah,
but do you
think if an Amazonian tribesman found an iPhone, do you think they'd keep it under wraps, or would they tell the rest of the Amazonian tribe? Sure. I think they'd tell the rest of the Amazonian tribe.
Sure, but that's because it's a 20-man tribe, right? Not a 300 million person world power, right? But I think that if there was like a power structure within this tribe that could do it, they'd probably like, hang on a second, this might change everything. I mean, for them, and it would change everything. Suddenly, instead of becoming tribal, now they've got to be democratic. Now the chief loses his position, blah, blah, blah. So it automatically changes. So we know this, and so we try not to interfere with their civilization because we know we're going to create massive upheavals within this Amazonian tribe. I don't see why it would be different for an alien civilization.
Well, I think you're anthropomorphizing alien life there. I just don't.
Maybe.
I don't see why we would assume that.
Maybe they'll just turn up and devour the planet and scour it of life. I don't know. But
if they've got evil intent, I mean, I just don't think that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is there are a lot of people who, in every other aspect of life, you would take very, very seriously, and they're saying there's something kind of ridiculous going on. The question is,
I would have taken Patrick Vallance and Whitty seriously. They've got. I would have. 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. They've got impeccable credentials. Why would I not believe
who are they
them?
in the UFO community? They're not.
Yeah. Yeah. I would
take them more
always
seriously if they were talking about UFO. Well, no, I agree. And if these guys were backed by the power structure, then okay, I'd be like, they're obviously trying to protect themselves. But these guys have been persecuted by it. I mean, the guy in the middle, Grush, he calls it administrative terrorism, where he's essentially been debanked and marginalized, had all of these things happen to him because of his concern in this regard. So if these people hadn't been attacked repeatedly, and there wasn't, the guy beginning said, look, it took us a long time to get to this point because the institutions were trying to stop us from doing this. It's like, okay, if they weren't trying to, then I would be far more on your side on that. But since there's resistance from the institutions, I can't see these guys as being the mouthpiece of the institutions.
I tend to think that it's bread and circuses in a spacesuit to keep us discussing this rather than discussing much more serious matters.
Maybe.
That's
I'm not ruling it out. I'm just saying this is something that happened, and I don't have an opinion, really. I don't know what the case is, so I don't know.
Interesting.
Thank you for watching that segment from the podcast of Lotus Eaters. If you enjoyed, why not visit our website, where you can get the podcast live from 1 o'clock on weekdays, in full, uncensored, and for free, as well as for as little as £5 a month, getting access to all of our premium content and helping us keep the lights on, with series like Josh's eclectic series, Contemplations, where he discusses politics, psychology, and all sorts of other topics, including in this latest episode, with Bo discussing if a country's geography is tied to its prosperity. Interesting stuff. If you'd like to see the rest of the content we're putting out, you can follow Josh on Twitter at JoshFirm, and the rest of us over at LotusEaters_com. Until next time, goodbye.